You ever detailed a Corvette ZR1? Well, thank you for spending your time and coming along with me today. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you what we do to this Corvette ZR1 to get it showroom ready. Let's jump into it. Alright, it's time to set up. So first we're going to need one bucket. We're going to fill that with about 1.5 to 2 gallons of water. And this is going to be for wheels and wheel wells. We're going to need some brushes. I have Wheel Woolly, a detailing brush, and a stiff bristle brush. Then we're going to take 2 buckets. This is for our 2-bucket wash method. One will be filled with just water, and the other we're going to add 4 capfuls of Meguiar's Gold Class soap. Now the reason we do 2 buckets is to prevent scratching, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. But for now, let's go ahead and fill this bucket up with some water. Let's talk about wheels and wheel wells. So I'm going to start out with the 25-degree tip on my pressure washer. I'm going to spray off the wheel and the tire as well as the wheel well. Then I'm going to move on to grabbing my bucket. And I'm going to take my Simple Green, it's just an all-purpose cleaner, and spray a little bit up in the wheel well. And then I'm actually going to switch my spray pattern here whenever I spray the tire. I'm going to use more of a wide spray so that I cover the whole tire. And then I have Chemical Guy's wheel cleaner that I'm going to spray onto the wheels and onto the brake caliper. I'm actually going to start with my Wheel Woolly brush, and this is because I want to start on the inside of the wheel with the barrel and then later on work my way to the face of the wheel. You'll notice that I move the Wheel Woolly brush back and forth at different angles to ensure that I reach every single part of this wheel and that I'm not missing anything. Next, I'm going to take one of my basic boar's hair detailing brushes. I'm going to spray some of my wheel cleaner into it, make sure it's nice and saturated. And I'm going to work my way around the wheel. You want to make sure that you follow a pattern here so that you're not missing any parts of the wheel. Otherwise, you'll tend to bounce around, and at the end of your job, there's going to be dirt and grime still stuck on the wheel. Now it's time to give the wheel well some attention. So I'm going to grab my stiff bristle brush and work it back and forth up in the wheel well. And I want to make sure that I'm not moving too fast or getting out of control, because if this starts to hit the paint, it can really damage it. And again, with this, you want to make sure your brush is nice and saturated with your cleaner. I'm going to spray a little bit more cleaner on the brush, and I'm going to start working my way around the tire. And these tires were already fairly clean, but I'm going to still give them a nice scrub. Now I'm going to go back to that detailing brush, make sure it's nice and saturated with cleaner, and work my way around those red brake calipers. I want to make sure those are nice and clean. Because of their bright color, they draw a lot of attention to them. Now we're going to talk about our 2-bucket 5-step wash method that helps minimize scratching and swirls. We're going to start with our 40-degree tip on the pressure washer, working our way from top to bottom, pushing the dirt down the panel. Now this is going to help minimize scratching whenever we go into our touch wash, because the bulk of the dirt and grime that would ultimately get rubbed into the paint will be gone. Now notice that as I'm moving the pressure washer wand back and forth, I'm ensuring that it doesn't get any closer than about a foot to the vehicle. And that's because I don't want too much of that pressure to be hitting the paint, because if there are any nicks or chips, that pressure washer can actually get up under it and cause the paint or clear coat to flake off. Now we're going to move move on to step 2 of our 5-step wash process. We're going to get our foam cannon, and I apologize for not showing you the setup, but there is 4 capfuls of the Meguiar's Gold class, and then it's filled with water. You'll notice that I do follow a very similar spray pattern to that when I was rinsing, going top to bottom. It's not as important when we're using the foam cannon. Coverage is the most important thing whenever we're using the foam cannon. But anytime you have a pattern, you're more likely to get even coverage and full coverage. Once the vehicle is fully covered, you're going to want to let it sit from 1 to 5 minutes, depending on how hot it is outside and how quickly it's drying. You absolutely do not want to let it dry on the paint, or you'll end up with spots that are a nightmare to get off. But you do want to give it time to work because it does break down the grime and grease that's on the car. You guessed it, it's time for step 3 in our 5-step wash process. We're going to rinse off all of this soap, working our way from top to bottom. I'm going to slow it down a little bit here. And you'll notice that I'm pushing the soap down the panel with the flat spray of the pressure washer. And this helps to get rid of all the soap quickly and also ensures that we're pushing the dirt and grime off the car and not leaving it on the panel for us to just rub back in later on when we do our touch wash. Now we're going to pick that foam cannon back up and cover it, working top to bottom, just like we did last time. Now this is where the touch part of our wash process begins. I'm going to grab my detailing brush and scrub around all of those little intricate areas like badges, like headlights, door handles, window sills, anywhere that you're not going to be able to get with a wash mitt. We're going to go ahead and get with that detailing brush. Now this just helps us make sure that we're getting the car perfectly clean, because these clients don't just want a clean car, they want it to be spotless. Speaking of spotless, when we're working outside in the sun, we have to work fast. Now ideally we're working in the shade, but the heat of the sun can still cause the paint to dry fast and for the water and the soap to cause spotting, and that is something that we absolutely cannot have. Now I'm going to pick up my wash mitt and I'm going to start washing from top to bottom. Now if you think about it, the dirtiest part of your car is going to be the bottom. It's closest to the road. It's going to have little rocks, tar, all of the things that you don't want to rub into the paint. And so we want to start at the top so that we're not rubbing those things into the paint and causing micro scratches. Now I'm going to go back to my bucket frequently. I'm going to dunk the wash mitt into the clean water bucket and then into the soapy water bucket. And if I see that the car is starting to dry, you'll see me pick up that foam cannon, give it a quick blast, and then I'm going right back into washing, working top to bottom. Now the last step in our 5-step wash process is this final rinse. Now we want to make sure that we're getting all of the soap off of this car, and we want to make sure that we're pushing the soap out of little crevices like door seals, like panel seams, headlights, door handles, all of those areas where the soap tends to sit and drip out later. We want to make sure that it gets out. So you can see me working around the car, working top to bottom again. That is huge. If I can't stress one thing more, it's work top to bottom. With this particular client, I had the option of pulling the car into the garage to dry it. Now if that's an option, do it. It gives you more time to dry because it's out of the sun. I always start my drying process with glass, and this is because windows spot bad And when they spot, you can see it from the interior and the exterior. So I'm going to make sure to get all that glass dry before the water can dry on its own. So I go through, get all the windows, get the windshield, and then I'll move on to paint. Now you'll notice that as I'm drying the car down, I'm spraying all the painted surfaces with the Meguiar's Express Wax. I love this stuff. It allows you to wax and dry at the same time, maximizing your time and making your details faster. Plus, it works as a drying agent, so it's going to help you pick up that water with your microfiber. Now, I just like to use a simple yellow Kirkland microfiber folded in 4 to dry cars. Lots of people use these cool drying towels. I think they're great. I've used them before, but I don't think they're necessary. Once you build up your detailing business enough, you can invest in some of those. I have some. They work good, but the Kirkland microfibers work great as well. Now at Knox Prestige Detailing, we don't want to just provide a mediocre detailing service. We want to provide something that is prestigious. And so we go through and we dry all the little intricate areas like this hex pattern on the grill. And I'm going to go through, you'll see I'll speed it up. But I just use my finger, work my way in to all those little intricate areas, making sure all the water's gone so we don't have any spots. Now you can't really call yourself a professional auto detailer if you're not drying the wheels. Wheels are a huge part of the car that get overlooked way too often. So I'm going to go through and dry it off with, again, just a simple microfiber and make sure that all that water is gone. Now water tends to pool at the bottom of the wheel, so we want to make sure to soak all that up. So again, guys, like I mentioned earlier, glass is so important. You're going to see it from the inside and the outside of the vehicle. So I'm going to take my Rain-X, spray it onto the windshield, and then take my microfiber, wipe it down with one side of the microfiber, and then I'm going to actually take that microfiber, flip it over, and wipe it dry. So you'll see I'm wiping it dry now, back and forth. I don't want any streaking, so I want to make sure that I'm getting all the excess product up. And I love Rain-X because you can clean and protect the windshield all in one step. Now you'll notice that I pick up the windshield wiper here and wipe under that, and that's super important if you want to be a top-of-the-line detailer. Now we're doing the same process that we did to the windshield on every window of the vehicle. So we're going to spray it with the Rain-X and wipe it down. Now Rain-X advises that you spray their product directly onto the window, unlike most other glass cleaners that would have you spray it onto the microfiber. And this is because there's a treatment in Rain-X, and we want to make sure that we're getting that treatment applied well, thoroughly, and evenly. Alright, we just finished up the exterior on the ZR1. Looks great. We're going to go ahead and get started on the interior now. So we're going to get the floor mats out, get everything vacuumed, and I'll take you along with me. Now you want to make sure to not pull too harshly on these because you can actually pull the piece that's mounted to the floor out of the floor. Now you're probably tired of hearing me say this, but again, pattern, pattern, pattern. You're going to want to work in a pattern to make sure that you're not missing any spot of the floor mat. Now a lot of times carpets will have a logo or a heel rest on them, and you want to be careful around these because the end of your vacuum can actually catch it and detach that heel rest or logo from the carpet, and that's not good. Now making our way into the vehicle, we're going to grab our brush attachment for the vacuum, and we're going to go ahead and get all the dust off of all the plastics, leather, vinyl, and especially around those switches where little crumbs and dust get trapped. Now again, I know I'm driving you crazy with it, but pattern, pattern, pattern. Follow a pattern, work your way from top to bottom, starting with the top of the dash, moving down, and then you won't miss anything. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch my attachments to my wider crevice tool so that I can clean out this little door pocket here, and then I'm going to move to the carpet with it. Now we don't want to agitate the carpet too much because we don't want to tear it up, but we do need to agitate it a little bit with the vacuum to make sure that we're picking up all the dust and dirt. Alright, door jambs is one of those things that's going to set you apart from every other detailer and really put you at the top of the game. So we're going to take our Meguiar's exterior finishing touch detailer, spray it onto our microfiber, get it pretty saturated, and then we're going to wipe it down. Now I want you to pay extra close attention to the door jambs because your clients are going to pay extra close attention to the door jambs if they're clean. I've had so many clients come out and go, wow, I have never seen my door jambs this clean, because oftentimes they don't get touched. When you're detailing a car, you have to pay attention to the attention pieces. Like I mentioned earlier, those red brake calipers are going to draw people's eyes to it. And this Corvette logo on the door jamb is going to draw those eyes right in. So I want it to be spotless and immaculate. Now in this particular video, I actually combined plastics and leather. Now usually they'd be separate, but this particular client asked us to not condition the leather. He doesn't like the way that the shine looks or the sheen, and so we're going to respect that wish, and we're going to clean the whole car with Meguiar's Quick Interior Detailer because it's still going to give that UV protection. So I'm going to start out with my soft bristle detailing brush and a little bit of that Meguiar's interior detailer in it. I'm going to work my way around the switches, around the seams, making sure to get all of the dust, dirt, and grime out of them. Now you're going to see me grab a microfiber that has a wet side with a little bit of the Meguiar's interior detailer on it, and I'm going to go ahead and wipe down the whole door panel. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip that towel and wipe off the excess so that it doesn't dry on the door. Now it's super important that you get down in those switches that you were working on with the brush earlier and make sure all that excess cleaner is dried out. Now, as you could suspect, the same as everything else today, we're going to be working top to bottom on the dash. So I'm going to start with the top of the dash and wipe that down, and then again flip to the dry side and dry it off and work my way down until I'm getting to those plastics that are closest to the floor. I do apologize for the bad angle here, but it's super important to get down on these cup holders and around these switches and seams on your center console with your soft bristle detailing brush. When we're talking about points of focus, around the steering wheel is huge, because that's where the driver is going to be looking a lot of the drive. If they're not looking at the windshield, they're looking down at their gauge cluster and their steering wheel. So we're going to make sure that we're getting that real clean all around there and that all the protectants are evenly spread. I'm sorry y'all, I really apologize for the poor camera quality. I got a new camera recently and I'm still figuring it all out. But we're going to work our way around all the seams in the leather with some of that interior detailer and our soft bristle detailing brush. And then we're going to go with our microfiber cloth and wipe off that product that we've applied. Now I'm just using Meguiar's glass cleaner right here. It's great. You can buy it on Amazon. It smells like grapes. The only thing you have to be careful about is it does have a purple coloring, so you can't spill it on anything. Now when I'm doing interior glass, I never want to spray the glass directly because then you get overspray on all the things below it. So I'm going to spray it directly onto my microfiber. And then I'm going to wipe that glass down, and just like the exterior glass, flip to a dry side and wipe off all the excess product for a nice see-through shine. Now for me personally, the windshield is the hardest part of the interior glass to clean because I don't really fit well up in there, but I like to use the back of my hand. That's a good little trick. And then the same thing, wet side, flip to a dry side to wipe clean. And you're gonna have to work fast because you don't want that window cleaner drying on here. Alright, so we just finished up the ZR1. Now it's time to do a quick walk around. So I'm going to grab a microfiber and my exterior detailer, and we're going to walk around the exterior, make sure it looks good, and then we'll move on to the interior walk around. Let's get to it. Now when we're doing this exterior walk around, we're really just looking for smudges that we might have made, little things that we might have missed. Even though we're wearing gloves, sometimes we brush up against the vehicle with our arm. We want to make sure that we're getting all of that off so that when the client comes and looks, it is just spotless, immaculate, and ultimately prestigious. Okay, it looks good. So now we're going to move on to doing the interior walk around. So I grabbed my interior detailer, new microfiber, and we're going to go through the interior now. Now the longer that you do detailing, the more that your eye is going to pick up the things that you've missed. And this is good because you're going to miss things. So you want to make sure that we're going back and getting it so that at the end when the client comes and sees, it looks immaculate. Alright y'all, well that wraps it up. I think the ZR1 turned out beautifully, couldn't be happier. Look at that shine, the deep rich black, and I'm just amazed. This interior is just spotless, beautiful, looks pristine and ready for the showroom. It looks good. Alrighty. So now it's time to wrap up, let the client know, have them come look, and we will be out of here. So thanks for sticking with me through this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned some things. And join me for my next video. Tomorrow we're going to be doing a BMW i8.